In this video, we're going to be breaking down this shelter that was put together by Ryan. He made this entirely out of 3/4 inch EMT conduit, and actually he used some 1 inch EMT conduit as well. You can buy both of those materials off the shelf at places like Lowe's, Home Depot, different electrical, in the electrical aisle of different hardware and home improvement stores. And he put the frame together with maker pipe connectors, and we'll highlight some of those here as we go through the build and talk about it. We can see here it looks like he said it was a bar that his wife works at, and they have some seating outside that they wanted to protect, and this is for people that smoke. They can sit outside and smoke and be protected from the elements, and so that's why he put this shelter together. And he said there were some industrial curtains that he used for the framework, as we can see here, and we'll talk about those and how they're attached later. But here is the framework that we can see, and it's fantastic. It looks like he's got some pieces of wood down there. I imagine those are just 2x4s, it looks like. And I think he's using the flange method that we talked about a while back on the channel, where basically you get a plumbing flange and you thread a EMT conduit, the electrical box, like junction box connector into that. And I've tried to recreate this hack. We've had some community members try to recreate this hack, and for some reason, it is getting harder and harder to find two pieces that are compatible because the threading can be different between the two pieces. So just keep that in mind if you try to recreate this. If you're watching Ryan and you have a link to those, if you got them online, or if you let us know where you, which store you got them in, that would be awesome. I'd love to find that and be able to share that with everybody. And we do also have a maker pipe flange that we produced after making that original video, after getting feedback from the community and figuring out what different needs people had. But if you wanted to make the same exact solution, just be mindful of that whenever you're looking for the pieces. But essentially, there's a bunch of those flanges bolted to the wooden pieces down here, and then the vertical pieces of conduit, it looks like they're 1 inch EMT conduit, and those go all the way up. And we'll just go ahead and we'll just add these verticals here. And so basically, it's just the 1 inch EMT conduit verticals going up from the wood, and this is essentially going all the way around. There's another one here, and then those are just, of course, flanged to that piece of wood, and they go up, and then it looks like he's using, well, here in the doorway, we can definitely see where he's using the maker pipe T-connectors, which is a simple connector that's just two pieces that have a puzzle piece that interlock together, and then you clamp that around two pieces of conduit and make this T-junction, and it has, the top half is what we call a through pipe connection, where the piece of conduit goes completely through it, and then the bottom half terminates in the bottom of the connector, and that goes to the other side where you'll see another T connector just connected in that same way. And this is all 1 inch EMT conduit. Directly above this, we can see another T connector, and this essentially is just grabbing onto a piece of conduit, or is grabbing onto the piece of conduit at the very top of the build and sending that to the wall. And we don't really see exactly how that's attached to the wall. Probably another flange, or maybe it's just kind of resting against the wall. Not entirely sure, but I would imagine, actually it looks like there's some kind of an overhang here. I don't know if the framework is kind of just resting on top of that overhang, or if it's bolted to that somehow. There's a number of different ways you could do that, but we don't really see or really get any details on that part of it. But here we can see the rest of this framework. Of course, there's going to be something at the top of these verticals, and most likely it's the T connector from Maker Pipe, the same ones we just looked at, or the 180-degree connector. If I had to guess, I would say T connectors, just because it makes the most sense for this kind of a build. And essentially, it's just going to be that vertical going up and terminating inside of it, and then you're going to have this top piece of conduit that runs continuously through it. Now, in the corners, there's going to be a connector, most likely the 90-degree connector, which allows you to connect 3 pieces of EMT conduit. You've got the 2 pieces that come in and then terminate inside of the connector, and then, of course, the vertical that comes in and runs continuously through it there. And then we've got another T connector here, I would imagine, another T connector there, another T connector. Actually, it looks like maybe that's actually a 180. Actually, is that a 180? I can't really tell. Well, I would imagine it would have to be, because anything that's over 10 foot, which is what you'll find EMT conduit in, anything over that, you're going to have to expand it. So you can do that 2 ways. You could use the maker pipe coupling, which allows you to join 2 pieces and create a long length. But we don't recommend doing that without adding a vertical at least every 4 or 5 feet. And if you're going to do that, then you can use the 180-degree connector, which essentially allows you to have the through piece going all the way up through the middle of the connector, and then it allows you to have the span of conduit. Actually, that's going all the way through that T and going over here. but essentially it has these two pieces, so you kind of break up a horizontal span, and then it allows you to extend that horizontal span so you can keep going past 10 foot and simultaneously add a vertical support and brace for your build. And that's really the best way to do projects like this. Now, we don't really see any more pictures, but the framework, I imagine, is pretty standard, going all the way around, just following the same design, where it's just flange from the bottom, going up, and then attached to the frame using the T-connectors. So I'm pretty sure we can assume that's the case all the way around. Pretty simple overall, and even if you're not making a smoking shelter for a bar, the reason we do these episodes and highlight these different techniques is you could recreate this. You could turn this into a greenhouse. You could turn this into a garden enclosure. You could turn this into all kinds of things, a batting cage. I mean, all kinds of possibilities using the similar techniques. So don't just dismiss something just because it's not exactly what you're making, because it might be helpful and you might learn some techniques for what you are building. But really cool. And here we can see the outside of the frame. And along those same lines, if you need to attach netting or a sunshade to your frame, you can use the same technique, which are these plastic greenhouse clips that just snap over top of the EMT conduit. And basically you just, as Ryan did here in this build, just bunched up the material over top. We can actually see it overhangs on the other side. And then those have a really strong fit and just clamp on the conduit and cinch down that material and hold it in place. We've also done a video in the past on different other methods for securing things like metal zip ties. You can use ball bungees and different things if your material has grommets. But if you don't have grommets, then this is really the best way to do it. Nice and simple, and you can pop those off and then just snap them on to hold that material in place. But that's all in all that I really see for this build, and it's a really great idea and a great use of materials that he already had on hand, and then just picked up some conduit from the hardware store and then ordered some Maker Pipe connectors from us, which we make and ship from South Carolina. So really cool build, Ryan. Thanks so much for sharing this. If you want to check out this post, and it'll be in the description, and you can ask Ryan questions or just see the photos and his description there if you want more details. Thanks everybody for watching. If you like this, consider leaving a like and subscribing. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next video.